The Today Show studio was buzzing with energy that morning. Producers darted back and forth with clipboards, stagehands adjusted lights with practiced precision, and the audience filed into their seats, eager for what promised to be an exciting live segment. Kelly Clarkson was the star guest, America's sweetheart, powerhouse vocalist, and beloved talk show host in her own right. She had been invited to promote her latest project, a multimedia venture blending new music with behind-the-scenes storytelling. For weeks, NBC had teased her appearance with flashy promos, promising viewers an unfiltered look at Kelly Clarkson like you've never seen her before. Kelly herself arrived looking radiant yet relaxed, a sequined blazer catching the light as she took her seat on the couch. She greeted the crowd with her warm, familiar smile, waving as fans erupted into applause. Her laugh, the kind that made people feel like old friends, echoed across the stage. Sitting across from her was Craig Melvin, sharp in his tailored suit, his trademark professional charm dialed up to full. The cameras rolled, and the conversation started off easy. Craig asked about her new album, her favorite song from the project, and how her kids reacted when they heard mom singing something new. Kelly answered with ease, sprinkling in self-deprecating humor, anecdotes about late-night songwriting sessions, and her love of turning personal struggles into universal anthems. The audience chuckled and clapped in all the right places. But then Craig shifted gears. He leaned forward, his smile thinning slightly, his tone dropping from playful to probing. "Kelly," he began, "you've always been very open with your fans, about your journey, your highs, and your lows. But in this new chapter of your life, especially after your very public divorce, some people wonder if you're holding back. Don't you think fans deserve to hear more of the real story?" The air in the room seemed to change instantly. The crew behind the camera stiffened, aware of the delicate line being approached. Kelly's smile faltered for just a second, her eyes narrowing before she caught herself and straightened in her seat. She let out a soft laugh that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Craig, I think my fans know me well enough to understand I share what matters through my music and my heart. Not every detail of my personal life has to be spilled on TV." It was a graceful deflection, but Craig wasn't ready to let go. He pressed again, his voice steady but insistent. "But Kelly, isn't it a little contradictory? You've built your career on being authentic, letting people in. You sing about heartbreak and healing, and you talk about moving on. But without explaining the full context, isn't that, well, kind of leaving your fans in the dark?" A murmur rippled through the audience. This wasn't the light, breezy interview they expected. Kelly's posture stiffened. She crossed one leg over the other, clasped her hands, and locked eyes with Craig. Her southern steel slipped through her otherwise friendly tone. "Being authentic doesn't mean handing over my private life like it's free candy. My music is my story. I don't owe anyone the play-by-play of what broke my marriage." Craig, sensing the rising tension, leaned in further. "But don't you think that by staying silent, you're letting speculation take over? Isn't it better to be upfront and control the narrative?" That last line hit Kelly like a slap. She exhaled sharply, her jaw tightening. "Control the narrative," she repeated, her voice edged with disbelief. "Craig, I'm not a politician. I'm an artist. My job isn't to feed gossip sites, it's to create something meaningful. And if people can't separate art from tabloid curiosity, that's their problem, not mine." The audience gasped, the sound cutting through the silence. For a moment, the studio felt less like a talk show and more like a courtroom, with Kelly defending her right to privacy. Craig, unshaken, held his ground, though a flicker of unease crossed his face. He glanced at the cameras, then back at her. "Kelly, I hear you. But some would argue that when you put your life into your songs, people expect honesty. Without context, doesn't it come off as a little hypocritical?" That word, hypocritical, landed like a dagger. Kelly's eyes widened, her lips parting in disbelief. A sharp silence followed, the kind that makes even the crew afraid to breathe. She leaned back, crossing her arms tightly across her chest. Her voice, when she finally spoke, was low and dangerous. "You don't get to decide what's hypocritical in my life, Craig. I have poured my soul into every note I've sung. My music isn't a deposition, it's expression. And if you can't understand that, maybe you're in the wrong line of work." The audience gasped again, louder this time. A woman in the front row covered her mouth. The tension was unbearable, the kind of live television moment producers pray never happens but secretly know will trend worldwide. Craig opened his mouth as if to respond, but Kelly was already moving. In one swift motion, She reached for her microphone, unhooking it from her blazer with a practiced hand. The sharp pop of the mic disconnecting echoed faintly. She tossed it onto the couch beside her with a flick of her wrist, the gesture dismissive, final. "I'm not doing this," she declared, standing abruptly. The screech of her chair against the studio floor cut through the stunned silence. For a second, no one moved. The cameras caught every step as she turned, heels striking against the stage with clipped finality, her sequined blazer glinting like armor as she walked off. The audience sat frozen, mouths agape, as Kelly disappeared behind the curtain. Craig sat there, blinking into the camera, his practiced composure faltering just enough for viewers at home to notice. He glanced toward the producers frantically gesturing behind the cameras, then forced a thin smile. "Well, live television, folks. We'll be right back." The screen cut to commercial, but the moment had already imprinted itself in the minds of everyone watching. The dramatic walk-off wasn't just a hiccup, it was a cultural moment. And in that instant, Kelly Clarkson's fiery exit ensured that what began as a simple interview would explode into headlines, hashtags, and endless debate. Backstage, the atmosphere was a whirlwind of tension. Kelly Clarkson stormed through the narrow corridors of NBC's Today studio, her sequined blazer shimmering under the harsh fluorescent lights as she moved with brisk, almost defiant steps. Her heels clapped against the linoleum floor, echoing in rhythm with her quickened breath. Assistants, interns, and crew members froze as she passed, some clutching headsets, others whispering into walkie-talkies. None dared approach her in that heated moment. She was a force of nature, hurt, furious, and unwilling to conceal either emotion. The second she reached her dressing room, Kelly pushed open the door with a forceful swing and let it slam behind her. The walls seemed to close in around her as she braced herself against the door, pressing her palms flat against its cool surface. Her chest rose and fell rapidly. This wasn't just anger, it was betrayal. She had agreed to this interview expecting respect, not to be cornered and dissected like a character in someone else's narrative. Behind her, the greenroom television still carried the muffled sound of Craig Melvin attempting damage control. On-screen, he shifted uncomfortably in his chair before forcing a smile that looked more like a grimace. "Folks, live television can be unpredictable. We'll be right back with more after this short break." The segment faded into a commercial for coffee creamers, but the tension in the air lingered like static. Craig wasn't feeling any more comfortable than Kelly. As soon as the cameras cut, producers swarmed him. Some were wide-eyed, frantic, waving their hands as they whispered urgently about ratings, reputations, and potential fallout. Others insisted he had done his job, that asking the hard questions was what separated journalists from entertainers. Craig adjusted his tie, a muscle twitching in his jaw as he listened. But behind his carefully composed face, doubt gnawed at him. Had he pushed too hard? Meanwhile, in Kelly's dressing room, her publicist, Dana, cautiously entered, clutching a phone that buzzed with notifications. "Kelly," she said softly, her tone a mix of concern and urgency. "We need to talk." Kelly sat on the edge of a couch, staring at her reflection in the mirror across from her. Her makeup was flawless, her hair styled to perfection, but her eyes, red, wet at the corners, betrayed the storm within. "Don't say it," she snapped, though her voice cracked slightly. Dana perched carefully on the armrest beside her. "It's everywhere already. Clips of you walking off are trending. Hashtag Kelly storms off. Hashtag Clarkson vs Craig. Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, people are picking sides." She scrolled through her phone, showing Kelly the flood of comments. One read, "Kelly Clarkson is a queen. She doesn't owe anyone her pain. Respect her boundaries." Another countered, "If she sings about heartbreak, why can't she just be honest?" Craig asked what we all wanted to know. Kelly exhaled sharply, half laughing in disbelief. "So now I'm either a villain or a saint. Great, just great." She wiped at the corner of her eye before it could smudge her eyeliner. "I'm not apologizing for protecting myself, Dana. I've been through enough." Outside her dressing room, reporters were already sniffing around. Paparazzi had gathered outside the building, hoping to catch a glimpse of her departure. Inside, network executives debated the situation in a glass-walled office, voices raised in heated discussion. One producer argued the incident was television gold, that controversy drove ratings, and this would be replayed for weeks. Another insisted they risked alienating Kelly, a beloved figure who could refuse future collaborations. Across the building, Craig sat in his own quiet corner of the chaos. He had retreated to his dressing area, the door slightly ajar. He scrolled through his phone, reading the backlash in real time. Some praised him for journalistic integrity, saying he had simply asked what others were too afraid to. Others blasted him for insensitivity, accusing him of badgering a woman who had publicly endured heartbreak. The duality was dizzying, and for the first time in years, Craig felt the weight of public opinion pressing harder than his professional instincts. By midday, the incident had snowballed beyond NBC's control. Major outlets published breaking news headlines. Kelly Clarkson walks off. Today, intense clash with Melvin. Did Craig go too far? Fans react to Clarkson interview meltdown. Entertainment panels dissected the footage frame by frame, analyzing Kelly's body language, Craig's tone, and even the precise second the mood shifted. On TikTok, users remixed the walk-off into dramatic edits with slow-motion effects and music overlays. YouTube commentators uploaded 20-minute think pieces with titles like, "Why Kelly Clarkson's Walk-Off Matters." Back in her dressing room, Kelly finally looked at Dana, her voice calmer now, though laced with exhaustion. "I've built my entire career on being real, Dana. But being real doesn't mean bleeding out on command for ratings. People forget I'm a human being. I'm a mother. I'm someone's daughter. I don't owe anyone the ugliest parts of my life." Dana nodded. "Then that's our message. We don't spin this. We don't apologize. We double down on your right to privacy and remind people why they love you. You've always stood up for yourself, that's why this resonates." Kelly leaned back against the couch, staring at the ceiling. "Good. Because I'd rather walk off 100 shows than sit there and let someone reduce me to gossip fodder." Meanwhile, Craig was being ushered into a meeting with senior producers. The atmosphere was tense, the discussion heated. One producer snapped, "You can't ambush a guest like that." While another countered, he asked the question every fan wanted to ask. Craig raised his hands, his voice calm but firm. "I wasn't ambushing her. I was doing my job. People call me soft when I don't ask tough questions. Now I ask one, and suddenly I'm the bad guy." Yet, privately, Craig knew Kelly's walk-off wasn't just about a single question. It was about boundaries, about dignity, about the line between journalism and intrusion. He felt it gnawing at him even as he defended himself. By evening, both sides had released statements. Kelly's team issued a carefully worded message. Kelly Clarkson has always been open with her fans through her art. She believes in authenticity but also in protecting her personal boundaries. Today's incident was a reminder that privacy and respect must be part of every conversation. Craig's camp followed with their own. Melvin has the utmost respect for Kelly Clarkson. The interview did not go as planned, and he regrets that it caused discomfort. His intention was never to offend, but to engage in honest dialogue. The statements did little to stop the storm. Fans continued to debate online, media outlets fanned the flames, and clips of Kelly's fiery exit spread worldwide. In some circles, it was hailed as a feminist stand for personal agency. In others, it was painted as a diva meltdown. But for Kelly, none of that mattered as she sat in the backseat of a black SUV later that night, watching the city lights blur past her window. She leaned her head back, closed her eyes, and whispered to herself, "I walked away. And I'd do it again." For Craig, alone in his quiet apartment, the incident replayed in his mind on an endless loop. He couldn't shake the image of Kelly's eyes flashing with fury, the finality of her voice as she declared, "My music isn't a deposition." It left him questioning, not just his approach to that interview, but the fine line every journalist walks between truth and exploitation. The world would move on, as it always does, but the moment had etched itself into television history. A clash of two powerful personalities, live and unfiltered. Kelly Clarkson had walked off the set of Today, but the echo of her heels on that studio floor reverberated far beyond the building, into living rooms, headlines, and cultural conversations everywhere. It was more than just a fiery confrontation, it was a reminder that even in an age of oversharing, some stories remain sacred, and some lines, once crossed, cannot be uncrossed.